I'm starting to get this sinking feeling that there's been too much positive energy on this channel. In fact, some would say it's toxic positivity. We've given you the best list, the top 50 songs of 2023, the top 25 albums of 2023, but what about the top 10 worst albums I heard in the year 2023? What's going on, everyone? Welcome back to ARTV. My name is John. The older I get, the less motivation I have to sift through the trash, but I have found out of the 120 or so records I listened to in the past year, 10 that made my worst list with some dishonorable disappointments that we'll reveal before the top 3. This is not meant to be an objective list. I'm sure there's hundreds of terrible records that you'll let me know all about in the comments, but I likely did not hear those. These are ones that I felt were either outright awful or just downright boring, which to me is a crime. Do me a huge favor, drop a like on the video if you enjoy it, subscribe if you're new in town, and let's get into the top 10. Here we are again with All Time Low, an inconsistent band, it seems like. We go on this roller coaster ride where they put out a really great album, Wake Up Sunshine, and before that they put out a kind of mediocre album, Last Young Renegade, and they seem to be able to bounce back from their mistakes, but I don't know if Tell Me I'm Alive is really the statement they thought it was coming back from the allegations. So many unnecessary electronics, synthesizers, pitch correction, and modulation on Alex's voice make this album feel overproduced and also void of a personality, at least at certain corners. Hey, I'm no prude, but I do feel that there's such an excess of sexual themes on this album, and not even interesting ones, just overtly sexual, and it's just like, oh, okay, the masturbation lyric, we're gonna check that box off. And then we've got New Religion, which is just Teddy Swims, you could do better. English Blood, Modern Love, and Kill Your Vibe are my top 3 on the album, but outside of that, and the ending of the title track that actually showed a little bit more of their punky roots, thrusting themselves into mannerisms that make sense for All Time Low, I just didn't get much out of this album whatsoever. Tell Me I'm Alive is a misfire as a complete package, and it features so many dumb, cringy lyrics and just overproduced messes that it doesn't really feel like much other than forgettable fodder. But hey, I love a comeback story as much as the next person, so let's hope that the next LP is a lot better. 72 Seasons is the latest from the heavy metal titans Metallica, a band that have definitely earned their stripes, a band that I am a fan of up to a certain point. This is their first album in 7 years following Hardwired to Self-Destruct, which I thought was their best record of the 21st century. This one, however, is just a slog to sit through. It's like a pitcher tipping all of his pitches, and you know exactly what's gonna come. Swing, batter, and they hit it out of the ballpark, except the home run here is only a home run if you're a diehard fan. Back up for a second, because some of these moments are fun. They're good. They have great elements to them. Lars will sometimes show up and show off the fact that he is actually a skilled drummer when he wants to be. Kirk Hammett does some great work on the tracks, but I don't think the guitar solos, as impressive as they may be, are enough to make the entire album or even the individual songs always worth sitting through. Long-winded instrumental intro, James being vaguely angry about something with extremely simplistic lyrics, guitar solo that comes flying in around the 4 to 5 minute mark of these 7 to 8 minute songs. I can see it coming from a mile away. The mixing on 72 Seasons is relatively weak for a band that were, I think at one point in time, the biggest band in the world and are still huge. You would think they could get better production and better sounds out of their instruments. Not trying to be Metallica's Grim Reaper or anything, but I do feel that certain bands, and especially certain heavier music genres, you get to a certain point and maybe it's time to hang it up, at least in the studio. Talking to myself again, but I don't know who I'm talking to. Oh yeah, that's the stuff right there. Yeah, that new Japanese house, that's that Z-Quill, baby. I joke, but I'm also half serious in saying that in the end, It Always Does was kind of the amber bane of my existence. Let me start by saying something positive. I do think that there are some strong themes on the record. I think that expressing one's own identity, coming to accept your own queerness, and some of the instrumentation, mainly on the singles like Sunshine Baby and Sad to Breathe, are the best songs here, and unfortunately, it doesn't have much to offer beyond that. But as an entire album, I dare you to tell me that this isn't Matty Healy core to the 1975th degree. Matty Healy co-produced this album and was featured in the background of some of these tracks, and it just kind of feels like an extension, a carryover, or leftover thoughts based on some of the production that him and George Daniel are known for. In the end, it always suffers from a lack of urgency, a lack of presence in the songs that just make them feel forgettable, like distant dreams. Like, I can't quite remember what happened, but I know I was there.
Yeah, Jesus Christ, don't text me back. I'll always be around, in fact.
Waterparks, how exactly did we get here? It feels like we jumped off of the deep end and then they drained the pool, yet we're still trying to swim around and pretend it's there. Intellectual Property marks yet another record from this band that seems like it's in a constant state of identity crisis. It's one thing to make a mixtape, but to have every song just so vehemently be off-putting is almost impressive. Unstable electro-pop rock can only carry you so far, and as this album bounces from stable cuts like Funeral Grey that harkens back to their debut album Double Dare, where I found them most enjoyable, you have other moments that just completely throw that in the trash and self-sabotage. It just feels semi-embarrassing because I know everyone in the band is either older than or else the same age as me, and to hear these lyrics about, oh, I'm not getting texted back, or do you think I'm weird, and stuff, it's like these songs and these themes are circling the same drain that they've been talking about since their early EPs. There's zero growth there, and it's really frustrating. I was on the Owl City hype train before some of y'all were even born, and it shows. But listen, things have changed since Ocean Eyes. It's not the same project anymore. Adam Young has gotten older, and if you think you should expect maturity, age with wisdom, right? No, we are back to Cocomelon, which I would not be surprised if it was inspired by Cocomelon. Cocomelon screams Christian youth camp counselor from the top of a mountaintop. It's impossible to ignore, and despite there being some pretty solid cuts like Kelly Time that I find mild pleasure from, for every one of those, we have to get through Sons of Thunder, Vitamin C with its horrible puns, and also possibly the worst song that Adam has ever made, The Tornado. I want to give Adam the benefit of the doubt because he seems like a nice enough guy, a sweet character, okay? But it's just so cringeworthy to sit through and listen to this 40-year-old talk about these lyrics and these things that are so syrupy sweet, even the most polite of Canadians would send it back.
OD on the jealousy, got a PhD in anxiety, so before you get...
Hello and welcome to I'm 32 and this is Deep, the album. Anne-Marie decorated her latest album Unhealthy like a social media For You page, tailor-made for the algorithm-addicted teens and girl bosses out there that think it's cute to say I'm psycho constantly and then follow up saying I'm psycho with, hey, I'm gonna show up at your house. I'm getting Sniper Wolf energy here. That's not a good thing. The English singer becomes the literal embodiment of how do you do, fellow kids, as she talks about mental health in the most surface way imaginable. I feel brain dead listening to a project like this. Most of the songs barely have enough substance to even hit the 2-minute mark, which explains why so many of the songs just don't have a bridge or any sense of completeness to them whatsoever. The D-tier producers give Unhealthy this super dated pop aesthetic that sounds more like the year 2016 than it does 2023, but maybe that's just me. I'm psycho, okay? The Used returned with a new record, Toxic Positivity, once again produced to hell by John Feldman. It's been Feldmanized. This is unfortunately nothing new, as he also produced their 2020 record Heartwork, an album that I found to be not bad per se, but really forgettable. I'm sorry to inform you, but the hot dog water has gotten even more stale. The lyrics are almost silly, regurgitated nonsense that just check off the same boxes the song structures never dare to color outside of the lines. This band seems to have zero clue what to do with themselves as they sloppily tack together elements of older albums like Lies for the Liars and The Taste of Ink. And at this point, I'm starting to feel like maybe this band should just hang it up because there's nothing interesting in here. One last thing I have to mention, I think it's so strange that they put the best song on the entirety of the album, Giving Up, as the last song. So we have to sit through a half hour plus of insufferable overproduced madness just to get to something that's pretty good. Before I reveal my top 3 worst albums of 2023, I'm gonna lighten the mood just a bit by taking on some dishonorable disappointments. Albums that wouldn't necessarily make my top 10 worst, but I had expectations for, and they fell through like that bathtub scene in Breaking Bad. 10,000 Gex. I'm not a fan, but I'm glad you like it. It tends to overstimulate my ADHD in the worst ways imaginable. Beach Weather returned with Pineapple Sunrise. After some unexpected virality, it brought the band back together, only for them to firmly faceplant in the sand. Austin was a somewhat self-titled album from Post Malone, and I had some expectations for it after loving the bounce of cuts like Morning. Unfortunately, it was a forgettable, overly long affair. After that, we had Royal Blood with Back to the Water Below. I do have so much love for this band, but it feels like they're kind of losing their grip a little bit as each record just slips off a little bit more. But I will say, why was Supermodel Avalanches not on this album? Citizen came back with Calling the Dogs. Life in Your Glass World, one of my favorite records of 2021. This is not that. Even with the added band members, I just don't really feel much of a connection to the material here. Avenged Sevenfold returned after a 7-year gap. Life is But a Dream, not one of my worst albums of the year, mind you, but definitely disappointing and polarizing as hell for that long of a wait. Mitski, The Land is Inhospitable, and so are we. Oh no, he didn't. Oh yes, he did. This album put me to sleep every time. Crosses, Good Night. God Bless, I Love You Delete. Each listen, I start to see a little bit more in the problem department. And outside of some great cuts like Feather and Invisible Hand, the LP feature, it just didn't do a ton for me. Kind of like Struggler by Genesis Uwosu. I loved Smiling with No Teeth so much, but this just doesn't feel like it knows what it wants to be or the direction that it wants to take, and I just don't think the rock sounds as good on him. Neither does it on the front bottoms, with some of the weird choices they made on You Are Who You Hang Out With. Greta Van Fleet with Starcatcher was a dull affair that unfortunately didn't do a ton to put to rest the Led Zeppelin comparisons. And finally, the last disappointment was Dead Club City by Nothing But Thieves, a band out of the UK that again are following the Royal Blood path in the sense that it feels like the quality is going down and the songwriting is less than stellar. Now that was a run-on sentence, but on with the top 3. To whoever wants to hear, slow down, enjoy your life. You only experience this kind of love and happiness once. Don't point a spotlight at the fear and sadness. Point one at the moments that make you feel like you're at the top of Everest. Point one at the people that make you feel invincible because you are. You live forever in their minds. You live forever in those moments. Be yourself until you end up dead. Love, dream. Sorry, I just got back from puking, and then everyone clapped. The existence of music from Dream just proves to me how doomed we are. Minecraft YouTuber Dream has tackled this music career not with any sort of substance, but more so the energy of an edgy 12-year-old that seems to think that this floats in the year 2023. He's not even hitting his target demo. Like, do you really think these Minecraft kids are out here listening to stuff that sounds like it could have been at home on a MySpace playlist 2 decades ago? Dream, they weren't even alive then, buddy. And you were 25. What excuse do you have to be making such hollow, empty nothingness? Dream is signed to a major label, Mercury Republic, and he couldn't even chart this higher than number 170 on the Billboard 200. Either Dream or the label desperately threw some cash at Young Gravy for a verse on Everest, which is the most generic, like trying to make you feel great about yourself. Hype it up, we're great, guys, we're at the top of Everest. It goes from that to Young Gravy coming in, cashing his paycheck, and talking about watering your daughter. It's just so sad to me to listen through this thing. It's only 17 minutes. It's billed as an album on Spotify, but I'm gonna count it as an album even though it's probably only an EP because 17 minutes feels like an hour.
See the thong bustin' on my tight jeans. Okay. Rocks on my fingers like a nigga wife me. Got another shorty, shit ain't nothing like me. Yeah, about to catch another flight.
Welcome to the atrocious world of Coi, an album by rapper Coi Leray, also known to me as Sampling. The album, The Squeakquel.
Oh, hey, you like that song, dumbass? Oh, yeah, do you? Well, here it is again, except even worse.
The hottest new craze in pop production. Flip the sample of an older song that people are already familiar with likely or else know the melody of, and then just rework it into a shittier, new version of said song. Even adopting the mindset, turn off the brain, just let yourself go stupid. This album doesn't work. It's not fun. It's so poorly Frankenstein together with its awful samples on the likes of "It's my body, I can cry if I want to." It actually says something way more explicit than that, but this is a family Christian Minecraft server here. What's crazy is that I can take off my critic hat and go Doug Trio mode to dig down and actually see the root of Coi Leray as an artist, to see that there is some potential deep down, but she would rather phone it in with these horrible asinine lyrics that pretty much reinforce the exact same stereotypes and the lavish lifestyle with zero substance that we've come to expect from our airheaded influencers. I can't help but feel like a king with no crown as we arrive at the number one worst album of 2023. It's The End of the World, but It's a Beautiful Day by Jared Leto. And also, allegedly, Shannon was there too. 30 Seconds to Mars are a former rock band turned shell corporation that I assume is a front for money laundering of some point, because there's no way, you cannot convince me that there's someone out there that actually thinks this is an amazing album. As truly mind-numbing as this 33-minute, 11-song affair is, there must be some sort of higher power that stopped the 200 songs that Jared Leto claims to have written for these sessions. We only had to deal with 11 of those. Just imagine, there's 189 other songs out there, demos, fully finished tracks, who cares? If these were the 11 best, may God have mercy on all of our souls. Either this entire record was written by AI, or else Jared Leto is now a full-on robot AI, and that wouldn't surprise me either. Zero creativity has a home on It's the End of the World. Song to song, they regurgitate and recycle over and over again, borrowing from not only themselves of yesteryear, but songs from this exact same album. There's a song called Love These Days and then Lost These Days. What does it say about this album that Stuck is the best song? The one that I have to be like, I guess if I could say one positive thing about the entire album, there is some energy here, because the rest of them take it so mid-tempo. I'll never not love you. I'll never not miss you. Jared, it's time to throw in the white Jesus robe, okay? Just call it a day. Let Shannon go. I know you're holding him captive and forcing him to program drums. Let him go. I know you've been releasing hostages slowly. Tomo's out of the band. Everybody's safe except for Shannon. I am concerned. So Jared, maybe just pack it up back to the desert like the good old pre-COVID times.
Z.
No.
Fuck, this album sucks so bad. It just puts me in the worst of moods. And the fact that I've had to listen to this in full like 5 times, I must be a masochist. That's a wrap on my top 10 worst albums of 2023. Keep in mind, this is mainly for entertainment and review purposes. Don't take my opinions too seriously. If there were albums on here that you enjoyed, more power to you. I'm not trying to rain on your parade. Please hit that like button, subscribe for the love of music, check out all of my year-end countdowns above me, and I'll see you soon on ARTV.